Alright, in this video, we're going to create a simple sign-up form, and that sign-up form will be rendered by Express.js. To start, let's create some initial files. Here is my terminal. Let's create a public directory, and then that public directory contains index.html. P npm init, and also let's create an app.js. Right, so these are the initial files required to be able for Express to run a server and then render an HTML to the browser. So the first thing I did, I create a public directory, and inside that public directory I created index.html. I initialize package.json by running p npm init, and it generated this initial JSON file with this content: name, version, description, index.js, test keyword, author, license. I also created, instead of app.js, I'm going to rename that into index.js. So here, I rename app.js into index.js. Now that we have the required file, we can install also Express. And let's define start here. I'm going to open index.js and then define some variables. Constant express, require express, or alright. So this is the content of package.json. Tutor, because that's the name of the directory. Version, description, entry file, and I also define start and install express. Here is the content of index.js. So we define a constant variable called express, and then require the express framework. We also define a constant path and require the path, instantiate an object express into app, define the port, and also define here an example routes. For now, I'm going to display hello world just to test, and then this will display on the terminal when running. To run the Express server, we need to invoke a command pnpm run start. Yeah, invoke run start. Alright, now it tells us listening on port 3000. In the browser here, it successfully rendered a hello world. So here I created an index.html. Now that we have index.html, we need to tell Express that we need to render index.html on the given path. So here's our index.html. Just contain a simple HTML structure having the title hello and just display hello world. And if we're going to visit that on browser, so here's the hello world rendered. We can verify that this HTML is the one that was rendered on the browser. We can do this by inspecting or viewing the page source, and we can see that here this is the HTML that was defined in Express. Okay, so now we can create a form, simple form, sign up form. Sign up. Okay, we can define a label. Most of the developers, they're doing something like input username, something like that. So here's the render of that input username. But from what I know, this is not the standard of using label. So instead of doing this, we're going to move this here and then add 4. So here the contains element is have the username. Then this one should have an ID so that it will be controlled by label. And this input is required. You can do something like true, or like required, but doing this is also fine. Next, we're going to define the password. There, the password. So the password, we have a new label here, password. For password type, password, ID password, placeholder, and also required. If we refresh this one, then we can see password, username. Since the type of this input is password, when we type something in this input, it will be the that we are seeing. To hide the text or the password for security purpose. Next is I'm just going to duplicate this one. Then let's define another label for email, targeting the email. This time is type email, then the ID is email, placeholder required. So the purpose of this, with this type, this will verify that the input is type email. Or next, I'm going to duplicate this and define the phone number. And let's make this telephone number, phone. This will not be required, it will become optional. Notice that we're using type tel here. We can specify in verification what kind of pattern is acceptable in in this input field. So you can see here, you can define in some countries, like there is, it accepts pattern 0 to 9 3, and then 0 to 9 3, 0 to 9 4. So it will be something like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. If the user input a pattern that is not this way, this will signal that this is not valid input. But for now, let's just accept a general number. Another is birthday, birth date. And this can be of type date, and birth date placeholder is birthday, not required. Here in the browser, you can see we are now able to do or to choose date from the drop down based on that. Next, let's define a like term of service, terms of service. This one should be like checkbox, US terms of service not required. So since this is type checkbox in the browser, we will be seeing something like this. And then finally, we're going to define a button to submit the form. Type submit, sign up. That will create a button in the browser. This one, sign up. So as you can see here, it's an easy form. We can wrap this with div. Alright, so everything now is wrapped with div. So we're going to the browser and refresh. Then they will be on the top of each other. Okay, so this will be the end of this video regarding on creating a simple form